The message came through the Deep Space Communication Array at exactly 1432. Earth Standard Time. Commander Jake Miller is reviewing supply reports aboard the UES Liberty when the urgent signal flashed across his command console. The ship's communication officer, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, looked up from her station with worry in her eyes. "Sir, we're getting a transmission from an unknown source. It's not coming from any human colony or Earth itself. The signal is incredibly strong, like nothing we've ever seen before." Jake set down his coffee cup and walked over to Amy's station. The Liberty was humanity's newest exploration vessel, sent to map the outer systems beyond the established colonies. They had been 3 months into their mission when this happened. "Put it through the main speakers," Jake ordered. The bridge fell silent as strange sounds filled the air. It was clearly a language, but unlike anything human ears had ever heard. The words were sharp and clicking, mixed with low rumbling sounds that seemed to vibrate through the ship's hull. "Can we translate it?" Jake asked. Amy worked her controls quickly. "The computer is trying to find patterns. Wait, there's something else coming through. It looks like they're sending visual data too." The main screen flickered to life, showing an image that made everyone on the bridge step back in shock. The creature on the screen was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like polished metal. Its eyes were large and black, completely without pupils. When it spoke, rows of sharp teeth were visible in its mouth. "Humans of the third planet," the creature said in perfect English. The translation system had worked faster than anyone expected. "I am Admiral Vexthera of the Zephyrian Confederation. Your species has been observed and judged." Jake felt his heart racing but kept his voice steady. "This is Commander Jake Miller of the United Earth Space Command. Come in peace and seek diplomatic contact with your people." The alien's mouth opened in what might have been laughter, but the sound was cold and harsh. "Peace. Your primitive vessels dare to travel in space that belongs to the Confederation. You will surrender immediately or face destruction." On the bridge, Chief Engineer Ben Hayes was scanning the alien transmission for more information. His equipment showed that the signal was coming from a massive source, much larger than any human ship ever built. "Commander," Ben whispered, "the energy readings from their ship are off the charts. Whatever they're using for power makes our nuclear reactors look like candles." Admiral Vexthera continued speaking. "We have studied your pathetic attempts at space travel. Your ships are powered by controlled explosions. Your weapons are crude projectiles. Your technology is centuries behind the simplest Confederation colony ship." Jake tried to keep the conversation going. "We're willing to discuss territorial boundaries and trade agreements. There's no need for conflict." "Conflict?" The alien's voice became even colder. "There will be no conflict. There will be swift conquest followed by the removal of your species from this region of space. You're occupying valuable systems that the Confederation requires for expansion." The transmission cut to show images of human colonies and Earth itself. Somehow, the aliens had been watching humanity for a long time. They showed detailed scans of Earth's cities, space stations, and military bases. Most disturbing of all, they had accurate counts of human population and military strength. "Your entire species numbers fewer than 20 billion, Admiral Vexthera said with contempt. "The Confederation includes 12 species with a combined population of over 2 trillion. Your fleet consists of fewer than 300 vessels, most of which are cargo ships and research vessels." Amy checked her instruments and found something that chilled her blood. "Sir, I'm detecting multiple large contacts at the edge of sensor range. They're huge, and they're moving toward human colonies." Jake knew he had to buy time and get word back to Earth Command. "Admiral Vexthera, surely we can reach some kind of agreement. Humanity has much to offer in terms of trade and cultural exchange." The alien leader's response was swift and final. "The Confederation has no interest in primitive cultures. You have 72 of your hours to begin evacuation of all human colonies and military installations. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your homeworld." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the Liberty in stunned silence. Jake immediately turned to his communications officer. "Amy, get me a direct link to Earth Command." "Priority Alpha Emergency Protocol." "Yes, sir." connection established. Admiral Lisa Park's face appeared on the screen. She was Earth's top military commander, known for her calm under pressure and brilliant tactical mind. But even she looked shaken when Jake explained what had happened. Commander Miller, return to Earth immediately. We're calling in every ship and activating all reserve forces. If these aliens think we're going to roll over without a fight, they're about to learn something about human nature. After the call ended, Jake gathered his senior officers in the briefing room. Amy Rodriguez looked pale but determined. Ben Hayes was already working on technical solutions, his engineering mind racing through possibilities. They think we're primitive, Jake said quietly. They looked at our ships and our weapons and decided we're not worth worrying about. Maybe that's good, Amy suggested. If they underestimate us, we might have an advantage. Ben nodded slowly. Our technology might be different from theirs, but different doesn't always mean worse. They mentioned that we use controlled explosions for power like it was something to laugh at. But nuclear fusion is incredibly efficient and reliable. Stood up and looked out the viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, an alien fleet was heading toward human space with the intention of wiping out his entire species. But instead of fear, he felt something else growing inside him. Set course for Earth, maximum speed, he ordered, and send a message to all human colonies and ships. Tell them that humanity is about to face its greatest test. But also tell them that we've never backed down from a fight and we're not going to start now. As the Liberty turned toward home, its crew began preparing for a war that would determine the fate of the human race. The aliens had made one critical mistake in their calculations. They had judged humanity by their technology, but they had no understanding of human spirit, determination, or the lengths people would go to protect their families and their way of life. The Zephyrian Federation was about to discover that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you think you can easily defeat. 3 days after the first alien contact, the Zephyrian strike force arrived at New Terra Colony. Battle Commander Rick Scala stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Stellar Dominion, watching the human settlement through his ship's sensors. The colony looked pitiful to his eyes. Simple metal buildings, primitive mining equipment, and only 2 human warships defending the entire system. This will be over in minutes, Rick Scala told his crew. Charge the plasma cannons and prepare for orbital bombardment. We will make an example of this place. The 2 human ships were the UES Defiance and the UES Ranger. Captain Greg Stone commanded the Defiance, while Captain Nicole Brooks led the Ranger. Both ships were old by human standards, built 15 years ago when Earth was just beginning to expand into deep space. Their hulls were scarred from years of service, and their weapon systems were basic kinetic railguns and missile tubes. Greg, are you seeing this? Nicole's voice came through the communication link between the ships. I count 12 alien vessels, and they're all bigger than anything we've ever built. Greg looked at his tactical display and felt his stomach drop. The smallest alien ship was twice the size of his vessel. The largest was like a floating city, bristling with weapons that his sensors couldn't even identify. Copy that, Nicole. We're not running. These people down on the colony are counting on us. On the planet's surface, Lieutenant Colonel Pete Davis was in charge of the orbital defense platforms. These were converted mining installations that had been hastily fitted with whatever weapons Earth Command could spare. Most of them were mass drivers, basically large electromagnetic launchers that could fire chunks of metal at incredible speeds. All platforms, this is Control, Pete announced over the defense network. Incoming hostile fleet, prepare for combat operations. Major Kate Sullivan, his strategy coordinator, was tracking the alien ships from the command bunker. Pete, their energy signatures are incredible. Whatever they're using for shields and weapons, it's technology we've never seen before. Maybe, Pete replied. But let's see how well their fancy shields work against a 10 kilogram tungsten rod moving at 15 kilometers per second. The alien commander Rick Scala was not impressed by the human preparations. Look at them, he said to his weapons officer. They're actually going to fight us with those primitive ships. This is almost insulting. Sir, the weapons officer reported, their vessels are closing on our position. They appear to be using chemical rockets for propulsion. Chemical rockets? Rick Scala laughed. We abandoned such crude technology thousands of years ago. Target their lead ship and fire one plasma burst. That should be enough to vaporize it completely. The Stellar Dominion's main weapon charged up, creating a brilliant blue glow that could be seen across the system. The plasma cannon fired, sending a bolt of superheated energy straight at the UES Defiance. Captain Greg Stone had been expecting. This evasive maneuvers? Full power to engines? The Defiance suddenly accelerated in a direction that surprised the aliens. Instead of trying to dodge the plasma bolt, Greg had ordered his ship to dive toward the planet at maximum speed. The plasma missed by only a few hundred meters, but that was enough. What are they doing, Rick Scala demanded. No ship should be able to accelerate that quickly. The alien commander didn't understand human engineering. The Defiance and Ranger were built for speed and maneuverability, not comfort. Their crews were pressed into their seats by forces that would have injured most alien species, but humans had evolved in a high-gravity environment and could handle the stress. Now, Greg shouted. All weapons, fire. The Defiance's railguns opened up, sending streams of metal projectiles at the alien fleet. The Ranger followed suit, adding her own firepower to the attack. The projectiles moved so fast that they appeared as lines of light, streaking through space. Rick Scala watched in shock as the human weapons tore through his formation. Impossible? How are their primitive projectiles penetrating our shields? His science officer quickly ran a scan. Sir, their weapons are not energy-based. They're firing solid projectiles at extremely high velocity. Our shields are designed to deflect plasma and laser weapons, not kinetic impacts. The first alien ship to be hit was a destroyer on the edge of the formation. The railgun rounds punched through its hull like it was made of paper. The ship's reactor overloaded and exploded in a brilliant flash of light. All ships, adjust shield frequencies, Rick Scala ordered. Adapt to kinetic weapons. But the humans weren't finished. Captain Ryan Torres, leading a squadron of fighters from the UES Yorktown, came screaming out of the planet's atmosphere. His 12 fighters were tiny compared to the alien ships, but they moved in ways that confused the Zephyrian targeting systems. Gold Squadron, attack pattern Delta, Ryan announced. Hit them fast and get out before they can lock onto us. The human fighters had learned their tactics from centuries of atmospheric combat, used the planet's gravity well to slingshot themselves at impossible angles, making sudden turns and velocity changes that no alien pilot could predict. Their flight patterns make no sense, the alien tactical officer reported. They're not following any logical attack formation. That was exactly the point. Human pilots didn't rely on computer-controlled flight paths like the aliens did. They flew by instinct and experience, making split-second decisions that no computer could calculate in advance. Dr. Alex Chen was watching the battle from Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station. As the planet's chief weapons researcher, he was taking careful notes on how the alien technology worked. Working with Colonel Maria Santos, he was already developing countermeasures. Look at this, Alex said, pointing to his screens. Their plasma weapons are incredibly powerful, but they take time to charge between shots. And their shields seem to have a recharge cycle too. Can we exploit that? Maria asked. Absolutely. If we can time our attacks to hit them when their shields are down, we can do serious damage. Back at New Terra Colony, the orbital defense platforms were finally ready to fire. Pete Davis had been waiting for the perfect moment when the alien ships were focused on the human fleet and not watching. For ground-based threats, all platforms target the largest ship, Pete ordered. Fire on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. 12 mass drivers fired simultaneously, launching their tungsten projectiles at the alien flagship. The rounds took several seconds to reach their target, but when they hit, the effect was devastating. The Stellar Dominion's shields flickered and failed under the multiple impacts. The tungsten rods punched through the ship's armor and into its vital systems. Explosions rippled along the vessel's hull as power conduits overloaded and atmosphere vented into space. Retreat, Rick Scala shouted. All ships, withdraw to safe distance. But the humans weren't letting them go easily. Captain Nicole Brooks had been waiting for this moment. Greg, they're running. Let's show them what the Ranger can do. The two human warships pursued the retreating aliens, their railguns continuing to fire. They couldn't catch the faster alien vessels, but they didn't need to. The psychological impact was already done. As the Zephyrian fleet limped away from New Terra Colony, Rick Sculla stared at his damage reports in disbelief. He had lost 3 ships, and had 2 more heavily damaged. The humans had lost nothing. "How is this possible?" he asked his science officer. "They're supposed to be primitive, sir. I think we may have misunderstood their technology." "It's not primitive, it's just different. They focused on kinetic weapons and high acceleration drives instead of energy weapons and comfortable cruising speeds." Rick Sculla realized he needed to report this to his superiors. The conquest of human space was not going to be as easy as the Confederation had thought. These humans fought like nothing the aliens had ever encountered before. On New Terra Colony, the celebrations were brief. Everyone knew this was just the first battle of a much larger war. But they had proved something important that day. Human ships might look crude compared to alien vessels, but they were designed by people who understood that in space combat, speed and firepower mattered more than appearance. The aliens had learned their first lesson about humanity. They would not underestimate them again. The news of the alien attack spread across human space like wildfire. Within hours of the battle at New Terra Colony, every human world knew that Earth was at war. President Helen Carter stood before the emergency session of the World Council, her face grim but determined. "Citizens of Earth, in all human colonies," she announced to the billions watching across known space. "We face an enemy that seeks to destroy us simply because we exist, but we will not go quietly into the night. I am authorizing Operation Iron Resolve. Every shipyard, every factory, every research facility is now part of our war effort." Admiral Carl Watson was already on his way to Mars Naval Shipyard when the president's speech ended. He had been given command of the hastily assembled Third Fleet, a collection of ships that included everything from military vessels to converted cargo haulers. His orders were simple: stop the alien advance at any cost. "Admiral," his aide reported, as they boarded the flagship UES Constitution, "we have reports coming in from the outer colonies. The aliens are hitting multiple targets simultaneously." Carl studied the tactical display showing red markers across human space. The pattern was clear. The aliens were trying to cut off the outer colonies from Earth, preventing reinforcements and supplies from reaching the frontier. General Patricia Hill was coordinating the defense from Earth Command Headquarters. Her job was to turn Earth's industrial capacity into a war machine faster than anyone thought possible. Factories that made civilian goods were being converted to produce weapons and ship components. "How long before we can start producing new ships?" she asked her industrial coordinator. "At current pace, 6 months for the first new warships," came the reply. "That's too long. We need ships now." "What about converting civilian vessels?" "Already in progress, General. We're installing weapons on cargo ships, passenger liners, even mining vessels. It won't be pretty, but they'll fight." "Meanwhile, Commander." Troy Jensen was leading a very different kind of mission. His ship, the UES Constitution, was a fast attack vessel designed for hit-and-run operations. His crew included Navigation Officer Lieutenant Diana Price and Weapons Specialist Lieutenant Commander Sam Miller. "Troy, we're approaching the alien supply convoy," Diana reported from her station. 3 large ships with 2 escorts, just like intelligence said. Troy studied the enemy formation through the ship's sensors. The alien vessels were massive, probably carrying supplies and reinforcements to support their attacks on human colonies. But they looked vulnerable, spread out, and not expecting trouble this deep in space. "Sam, are the new weapons ready?" Troy asked. "Yes, sir. The captured alien plasma cannons are installed and charged. Engineering says they should work, but we've never tested them in combat." This was part of humanity's greatest advantage. The aliens stuck to their established technology. Humans were constantly adapting and improving. Within days of the first battle, human engineers had begun studying captured alien equipment and figuring out how to use it. Chief Engineer Rachel Miller had been working around the clock with systems analyst Captain Tony Garcia to integrate the Alien technology with human systems. Their hybrid weapons were more powerful than anything either species had produced alone. The beauty of human engineering, Rachel explained to her team, is that we don't care if something looks pretty or follows proper procedures. If it works, we use it. The Constitution attacked the alien convoy without warning, Troy had learned. From studying the previous battle that the aliens expected formal challenges and organized formations, humans preferred surprise and confusion. All weapons, fire, Troy ordered. The hybrid plasmakinetic weapons tore into the alien ships. The Constitution's railguns fired tungsten rounds while the captured plasma cannons sent streams of superheated energy into the enemy formation. The combination was devastating. Direct hit on the lead transport, Sam reported. She's breaking apart. But the aliens were learning too. The escort ships immediately moved to protect the remaining transports, their shields adapting to both. Kinetic and energy weapons? The battle was harder than Troy had expected. They're adjusting faster than before, Diana observed. Their shields are holding against our weapons. Then we'll have to get creative, Troy replied. Sam, load the special rounds. The special rounds were another human innovation. Instead of solid tungsten, these projectiles contained small nuclear warheads. When they penetrated the alien shields, they exploded inside the ship's hull. Colonel Frank Hughes was watching the battle from his intelligence ship, the UES Shadow. His mission was to gather information about alien tactics and technology. What he saw surprised him. They're not just adapting their shields, he reported to command. They're changing their entire formation. Look how they're spreading out now, making it harder for us to hit multiple targets. This was both good and bad news for humanity. The aliens were learning from their defeats, which made them more dangerous. But it also meant they were no longer underestimating human capabilities. Back at Earth, Dr. Alex Chen was analyzing data from every battle, working with Colonel Maria Santos, who's developing new weapons and tactics based on what they learned about alien technology. Their ships are incredibly advanced, Alex explained to the research team, but they're designed for a different kind of warfare. They expect long-range energy duels with lots of time to maneuver and adapt. We're hitting them with everything at once, faster than they can respond. What happens when they figure out how to respond faster? Maria asked. Then we change tactics again. That's what humans do best. The Constitution finished off the alien convoy and prepared to return to human space. But Troy decided to take a detour first. Diana, set course for the alien communication relay we detected yesterday. Sir, that's deep in enemy territory. If we're caught, there's no backup. It's exactly why we need to take it out, if we can. Disrupt their communications, it'll slow down their entire offensive. The attack on the communication relay was a complete success. Troy's crew managed to destroy the facility and capture valuable intelligence about alien fleet movements. But more importantly, they proved that humans could strike anywhere in alien-controlled space. Captain Jack Lewis aboard the U.S. Intrepid was having similar success on the other side of the war zone. His crew had captured an intact alien destroyer, and were in the process of figuring out how it worked. This is incredible, his engineer reported. Their technology is more advanced than ours, but it's also more complicated. Everything requires multiple authorization codes and safety protocols. Our systems are simpler, but more reliable. Can we fly it? Jack asked. Or give us another day, and we'll have it running with human control systems. This was becoming a pattern. Across the war zone, human flexibility was proving more valuable than alien technological superiority. Where the aliens had rigid procedures and protocols, humans were willing to improvise and adapt. The turning point came when Admiral Carl Watson's Third Fleet engaged the main alien battle group near the Centauri system. The aliens had committed over 50 ships to the attack, expecting to overwhelm human resistance through sheer numbers. All ships, execute Plan Charlie, Carl ordered. Remember, we don't have to destroy them all. We just have to make them retreat. Plan Charlie was a human innovation based on ancient naval tactics. Instead of meeting the alien fleet head-on, the human ships scattered in all directions, forcing the aliens to split their forces to pursue them. Then, When the alien ships were spread out and isolated, the humans would concentrate their fire on individual targets. The battle lasted 6 hours and ended with the alien fleet in full retreat. They had lost 12 ships, while the humans lost only 4. More importantly, the aliens had learned that humanity would not be easily conquered, as reports of human victories spread across the galaxy. The Zephyrian High Command began to realize they had made a serious mistake. What they had thought would be a simple conquest was turning into a real war against an enemy that refused to follow the rules. Supreme Commander Vorthgis studied the battle reports with growing concern. How are they doing this? Their technology is inferior, their ships are smaller, their weapons are primitive, yet they keep winning. His tactical advisor had been studying human warfare for weeks. Sir, I think we misunderstood what we were facing. These humans don't fight like a civilized species. They fight like predators. The war was entering a new phase. The aliens could no longer dismiss humanity as a minor threat. Earth's fleet might have looked like a joke when the war began, but it was no longer funny. The humans were learning, adapting, fighting with a determination that the Confederation had never encountered before. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when humanity's survival was threatened. The aliens had awakened something. They didn't understand, and now they would have to face the consequences of their mistake. Supreme Admiral Kethmoron stood in the war room of the Zephyrian capital ship, staring at the holographic display that showed the current state of the war. Red markers indicated human victories, and there were far too many of them. What was supposed to be a quick conquest had turned into a nightmare that was lasting months. "This ends now," he declared to his assembled commanders. "I am committing the entire 4th Armada to crush these humans once and for all. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier we have will be thrown at their pathetic colonies until nothing remains." The 4th Armada was the pride of the Confederation military. Over 800 ships of various sizes, including massive dreadnoughts that could destroy entire planets. It was more firepower than had ever been assembled in galactic history. Battle Commander Nick Stella, recently promoted after the previous commander's failures, studied the fleet composition with satisfaction. With this much force, the humans cannot possibly resist. Even if every one of their ships fights to the death, we outnumber them 10 to 1. But Supreme Admiral Kethmoron had learned to be cautious about predictions involving humans. These creatures have surprised us before. Do not assume this will be easy. Far from the alien fleet, Captain Steve Adams was putting his new ship through its paces. The used Thunderbolt was humanity's first true hybrid warship, built using both human engineering and captured alien technology. It was faster than any previous human vessel and carried weapons that could punch through the strongest alien shields. "Commander Wright, how are the new systems performing?" Steve asked his tactical officer. Commander Julia Wright checked her displays with satisfaction. "All green across the board, Captain. The hybrid engines are giving us twice the acceleration of our old ships, and the plasma kinetic weapons are performing better than expected." Major Dan Foster, the ship's intelligence officer, was monitoring alien communications from his station. "Sir, I'm picking up massive fleet movements. It looks like they're bringing everything they have for one final push." Steve nodded grimly. "Then we'd better be ready for them. Dan, get word to Admiral Thompson. Tell him the big show's about to start." Admiral Mike Thompson commanded Task Force 7, a collection of humanity's newest and most advanced ships. Unlike the desperate defense fleets of the early war, Task Force 7 was designed specifically to hunt and destroy alien capital ships. "Steve's right," Mike told his staff after receiving the message. "Intelligence reports suggest they're massing their entire fleet. This is their attempt to end the war with one massive strike." His operations officer looked worried. "Sir, even with our new ships, we're still heavily outnumbered. If they commit everything, we might not be able to stop them. That's why we're not going to fight them the way they expect," Mike replied with a slight smile. "We've been playing defense for months. Time to remind them that humans are natural hunters." The plan that Mike and his staff developed was typically human in its audacity. Instead of waiting for the aliens to attack human colonies, Task Force 7 would strike first at the alien staging areas. The goal wasn't to destroy the entire enemy fleet, but to disrupt their formations and force them to fight on human terms. Lieutenant Commander Anna Brooks commanded the UES Shadow, a stealth destroyer that had been refitted with the latest human-alien hybrid technology. Her job was to infiltrate the alien fleet and gather intelligence on their battle plans. Technical. Specialist Martinez, are the stealth systems online? Anna asked. Chris Martinez nodded from his engineering station. The new cloaking device is active, Captain. We're using modified alien sensor technology to make ourselves invisible to their detection systems. The Shadow slipped through space like a ghost, passing within kilometers of alien ships without being detected. Anna's crew gathered detailed information about enemy positions, weapon loadouts, and communication frequencies. My God, Anna whispered as she saw the full scope of the alien fleet. There must be nearly 1,000 ships out there. They really are bringing everything. But she also noticed something important. The alien fleet was organized in the same rigid formations they had always used. Despite months of fighting humans, they were still thinking like a traditional military force. Meanwhile, Captain Paul Johnson was facing his own crisis at Luna Base, humanity's forward defense station near Earth's moon. His orders were to evacuate the base if the alien fleet approached, but Paul had other ideas. I'm not running, he told his crew. This base has enough firepower to hurt them, and if we abandon it, they'll have a clear path to Earth. His second-in-command looked nervous. Sir, Command ordered us to evacuate. If we stay, we'll be cut off with no chance of rescue. Then we'll make our stand count for something, Paul replied. Sometimes you have to decide what's worth dying for. The alien fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system like an approaching storm. Supreme Admiral Keth Morin expected to see human ships fleeing in panic. But instead he found organized resistance waiting for him. Sir, his sensor operator reported, I'm detecting multiple human fleet elements in formation near Mars orbit. They appear to be preparing for battle. Possible, Keth Morin replied. Our intelligence said they had fewer than 200 ships in the entire system. I'm seeing at least 300 contacts. What the alien commander didn't know was that humanity had been working around the clock to convert every available vessel into a fighting ship. Cargo haulers, mounted railguns, passenger liners carried missile pods, and even mining ships had been fitted with weapons. The battle began when Captain Paul Johnson opened fire from Luna Base. His massive orbital cannons, originally designed to defend Earth from asteroids, sent streams of projectiles into the alien fleet at incredible velocity. Direct hits on multiple targets, his gunner reported. Their shields are holding, but we're getting their attention. The aliens responded by sending a full battle group to destroy the base, but that was exactly what Paul had hoped for. Every ship that attacked Luna Base was not attacking the main human fleet. Admiral Mike Thompson watched the battle develop from his flagship and smiled. Anna did good work. Their fleet is exactly where intelligence said it would be. All units, execute Operation Thunderstrike. Operation Thunderstrike was humanity's most ambitious military operation ever attempted. Instead of meeting the alien fleet head-on, the human ships attacked from multiple directions simultaneously. Task Force 7 hit the alien rear guard, while converted civilian ships struck at their flanks. Captain Steve Adams led the main assault in the UES Thunderbolt. His hybrid weapons tore through alien formations that had never faced such a combination of firepower and speed. Julia, target their command ship, Steve ordered. If we can take out their leadership, the whole fleet will be in chaos. Targeting solutions locked, Commander Wright replied. Firing all weapons. The combination of human railguns and alien plasma cannons proved devastating against the enemy flagship. The massive alien dreadnought staggered under the assault, its shields failing and hull-breaching in multiple places. But the aliens were far from finished. Battle Commander Nick Stella rallied her forces and began a counterattack that threatened to overwhelm the human defenders. All ships concentrate fire on the human flagship, she ordered. Destroy their command vessel, and their formation will collapse. What followed was the largest space battle in galactic history. Over 1,000 ships fought in a combat zone that stretched across the entire solar system. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as ships from both sides were destroyed or crippled. Engineer Commander Laura Evans managed the crucial breakthrough when her team successfully hacked into the alien communication network. Suddenly, human commanders could hear every alien order and coordinate their attacks with perfect timing. "Mike, this is Laura," she reported to Admiral Thompson. "We're inside their network. I can see everything they're planning." "Outstanding work," Mike replied. "Feed the data to all our ships. Let's turn their own information against them." The tide of battle turned when Lieutenant Commander Anna Brooks emerged from stealth directly behind the alien command ship. The Shadow's weapons, fired at point-blank range, crippled the enemy flagship's engines and communication systems. With their command structure disrupted and their plans known to the enemy, the alien fleet began to fall apart. Individual ships tried to retreat, but human forces were waiting for them at every exit point. Supreme Admiral Kethmorin found himself trapped aboard a crippled ship, surrounded by human vessels. For the first time in his long military career, he was forced to consider surrender. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "the humans are demanding our immediate surrender. They're giving us 5 minutes to respond before they resume firing." Kethmorin looked around his damaged bridge and realized the truth. The species he had dismissed as primitive had not only defeated his fleet, they had done it while outnumbered 3-1. These humans had turned what should have been their greatest weakness into their greatest strength. "Open a channel to the human fleet," he ordered quietly. "Tell them that the Zephyrian Fourth Armada surrenders unconditionally." The battle was over, but the war was far from finished. However, something fundamental had changed. The aliens now knew that humanity was not a minor threat to be easily eliminated. They were Fachi. The news of the Fourth Armada's defeat spread across the galaxy faster than the speed of light. In every corner of Confederation space, alien leaders received the impossible report. The humans, those primitive creatures with their crude ships and simple weapons, had not only survived the greatest military assault in galactic history, they had won. Admiral Lisa Park stood on the bridge of the UES Sovereign, humanity's new flagship built from captured alien technology and human engineering. Around her, the remnants of the alien fleet floated in space, their weapons powered down and their crews awaiting instructions from their human captors. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the Confederation. High Council. They're requesting immediate negotiations." Lisa looked out at the defeated alien ships and felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. So many lives had been lost on both sides, all because the aliens had refused to believe that humanity deserved to exist in peace. "Put them through," she ordered. The face that appeared on the main screen belonged to Council Leader Zethra, the highest-ranking official in the Confederation government. She looked tired and defeated, her large black eyes reflecting the shock of learning that her mighty military had been crushed by a species they had dismissed as insects. Admiral Park Zethra began, her voice carefully controlled. "The Confederation. Council wishes to discuss terms for ending this conflict." "I'm listening," Lisa replied simply. Vice Admiral Kevin Brown, commanding the carrier group, watched the alien leader carefully. He had studied alien psychology during the war and could see the fear behind her formal words. The Confederation had built their entire society around the belief that they were superior to all other species. Losing to humans had shattered that belief. The negotiations took place aboard the UES Sovereign, a conference room that had been hastily prepared for the historic meeting. Admiral Lisa Park led the human delegation, supported by Admiral Carl Watson, General Patricia Hill, and Dr. Alex Chen. The alien delegation was led by Supreme Admiral Kethmorin, who had been released from captivity specifically for these talks. "Let me be clear about our position," Lisa began. "Humanity did not start this war. You came to our space, threatened our people, and tried to destroy our colonies. We defended ourselves." Kethmorin looked uncomfortable as he responded. "The Confederation acknowledges that errors were made in our initial assessment of human capabilities. We are prepared to offer compensation for damages caused during the conflict." "Compensation?" General Patricia Hill leaned forward. "You tried to commit genocide against our entire species, You think money can fix that? Dr. Alex Chen had been studying the alien delegation throughout the meeting. What we want is simple, he said calmly. Recognition of human territorial sovereignty. A formal treaty guaranteeing non-aggression and assurance that this will never happen again. The alien negotiators exchanged glances. Council leader Zethra spoke through the communication link from their homeworld. The Confederation is willing to recognize human territorial claims within your current sphere of influence. However, any expansion beyond those boundaries would require our approval. Admiral Carl Watson laughed harshly. You're still trying to dictate terms? You've just lost the biggest fleet in galactic history to a species you thought was primitive. What makes you think you're in a position to set conditions? The truth was that humanity now held all the advantages. Captain Andrew Miller, commanding the experimental battleship U.S. Retribution, had spent the last week studying captured alien technology. His engineers had learned more about Confederation military capabilities in a few days than the aliens had learned about humans in months of fighting. Admiral Park Andrew reported through a secure channel, "We've finished analyzing their ship designs. Their technology is impressive, but it's also predictable. They haven't innovated in centuries. Everything they build follows the same patterns." This was the fundamental difference between the two species. The Confederation had reached a technological plateau and stopped improving. Humans never stopped adapting, learning, finding new ways to solve problems. Commander Nathan Clark, leading the fighter squadrons, had discovered something even more important during the recent battles. The alien pilots are trained to follow specific procedures, he explained to the tactical staff. When something unexpected happens, they can't adapt quickly enough. Our pilots think for themselves. The negotiations continued for 3 days, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The Confederation had been thoroughly defeated and had no choice but to accept human terms. The final treaty was more generous than many humans wanted, but Admiral Lisa Park knew that making the aliens too desperate might lead to future problems. "We're not conquerors," she explained to her staff. "We're defenders. We want peace, not an empire." The Treaty of Seoul, as it came to be known, established several key principles. First, the Confederation formally recognized human sovereignty over all systems currently inhabited by humans. Second, they agreed to a non-aggression pact that would last for at least 100 years. Third, they established trade agreements that would benefit both species. Most importantly, the treaty included provisions for sharing certain technologies. Humans would gain access to alien medical and communication advances, while the Confederation would learn about human engineering and tactical innovations. Captain Jennifer Barnes, commanding the escort vessel U.S. Guardian, was present when the treaty was signed. She watched as Admiral Lisa Park and Council leader Zethra put their signatures on the historic document that ended the war. "It's hard to believe it's over," Jennifer said to Commander Eric Thompson, who stood beside her. "Fighting is over," Eric replied, "but I think this is just the beginning of something much bigger." He was right. The war had changed everything, not just for humans and the Confederation, but for the entire galaxy. Other alien species had watched the conflict with growing amazement as the supposedly primitive humans defeated the mighty Confederation. Captain Susan Lee, commanding the research vessel U.S. Discovery, had been monitoring communications from across the galaxy during the final negotiations. "Admiral, we're getting contact requests from dozens of other species. They all want to establish diplomatic relations with humanity." The galaxy was realizing that a new power had emerged, one that combined technological innovation with tactical brilliance and an unbreakable will to survive. The humans had proven that advanced technology meant nothing without the wisdom to use it properly. Admiral Vexera, the Confederation officer who had first threatened humanity, was now a prisoner awaiting trial for war crimes. But even she had begun to understand what her people had awakened. "We made a fundamental error," she explained to her interrogators. "We assumed that technology determined military capability. We never considered that adaptability and determination could overcome pure technological advantage." As the human fleet prepared to return to Earth, Admiral Lisa Park reflected on everything that had happened. When the war began, the aliens had looked at humanity's ships and laughed at their crude appearance. Those same ships had just won the greatest military victory in galactic history, Commander Jake Miller. Now promoted to Admiral after his heroic actions throughout the war, was given command of humanity's new exploration fleet. His mission was to make contact with the other species that wanted to meet with humans. "Remember," Lisa told him as he prepared to depart, "we didn't build the prettiest ships in the galaxy, but we built the ones that came home when it mattered most. The galaxy would never again make the mistake of judging humanity by appearance alone. Earth's fleet might have looked like a joke when the war began, but it had proven that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate." As human ships spread out across the galaxy to begin a new era of exploration and diplomacy, they carried with them the knowledge that they had earned their place among the stars through courage, ingenuity, and an absolute refusal to surrender. The aliens had learned the hard way that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology, but their determination to survive and protect what they loved. It was a lesson that would be remembered throughout the galaxy for generations to come. The war was over, but humanity's journey among the stars had just begun.